I think at this point, everybody knows what BJJ Fanatics is. Gary, do you know what BJJ Fanatics is?
Yeah, I think if you're involved in this world at all, you know what BJJ Fanatics is.
Just checking if you haven't been on the rock.
I mean, if it's your second, third time on the mats, you probably don't know. But after that, I'm sure stuff is filtering into you.
But listen, so in November, I had privilege to work with those guys. The Gravity is Your Friend is out there available. But recently, I flew back to Boston to shoot two more. So those will be coming out very soon. If you're searching for my name on BJJ Fanatics, there's only one. Then a couple more are coming down the pipe. Keep your ears and eyes open as the things unfold.
Yeah, bjjfanatics.com. Check them out. Awesome videos. Hey, I'm wondering, do you have a place where we could go to ask all those questions that always come up in jiu-jitsu?
You are lucky. You are very, very lucky. Ask a Black Belt on all podcast platforms, plus our YouTube channel. What I do is essentially I collect questions that you might have and the questions that I've had for all this time being on the mat and record them as a short individual episodes, about 3-4 minutes long, and just put them out there several times a week. So make sure you go, you follow, and tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. Check it out. Subscribe, download, all that stuff, and get those answers to the questions you've always wanted to ask.
Welcome to Raw Radio.
We're live.
Here we go. Yeah. Here we go again. The takeaway. Another takeaway.
All right, Fabio.
Fabio Clemente, been around for forever. And if you don't know anything about him, you should. He's one of those people that, he's a pioneer in the United States in jiu-jitsu, and people I didn't really know anything about him. I had no idea that his role was so significant throughout all these years.
I think he's one of those guys who appreciates quiet and being in behind the scenes.
I got that vibe a little bit. Yeah,
where he doesn't have to be in a spotlight. He doesn't have to for his academy to be famous. He doesn't care about having 500 students and 4 floors in Manhattan, New York. And I could be wrong on this, but this is just my perception. But just to paint a picture for who Fabio is, he got his black belt in 96. 96.
And he got his black belt in 96, and he already had his first academy.
Right.
Which is great. He started it as a brown belt.
83?
No, he started teaching in 94.
He started in 83, and then in 94 he started teaching. In 95 he got his academy opened in New York.
Yep, one of the very, very first ones, opened on the same day as a different, very famous academy.
Marcelo's, we can say it.
No, it wasn't Marcelo's, it was Henzo's. But he does have a very good, great connection with Marcelo. Right. But check out his history. I mean, it's great. And, the reason we usually don't wrap things up like this for people, this much description about the guests. But I think the reason we are is because we asked him, what his greatest achievement throughout his, great history in the sport, what that was. And he said basically survival, just being, he's survived all these years from renting a space in a fitness gym with some rollout mats to opening one of the very first academies to being around 27 years later still. How many academies by world famous people have come and gone in the past 27 years?
Well, I think the number would be smaller if we really looked at how many sticked around.
Well, that's what I mean, come and gone. How many...
I'm saying
it'd be,
it would
just
be
how
easier to find how many
are still here.
Survive them still here.
Then count the ones that have gone
from 96. 20. Where does this put it at? 26, 27 years. So it freaking.
So what does it take to survive all those years?
What do you tell me? What does it take to survive being with me?
Patience.
Let's talk about that.
Patience.
Ignorance.
You need patience. I think, obviously you have to look, we just got done with another guest where we discussed a little bit about, the difference between a business and a club. And I think one of the big issues is you have to look at it as a business. Clubs probably don't last very long, I think that the memberships and clubs are going to be a lot smaller. A business, you're catering to a wider group of people. You have a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Your goals are different when you have a business, I think, than just running a club. And
I actually think the club has a higher chances of survival.
You think so? Guys just hanging out, working out together?
Yeah, because there's no obligation.
Having fun?
There's no obligation.
No? Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There's no obligation. So,
right. So
I'm not going to come. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to. I don't even need to be there to open the doors because somebody else has a key and they can all hang out.
From survival perspective, that club can exist for decades.
Yeah, I just don't think they do, though.
Well,
I don't know. I haven't been around as long as you, so maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't have the statistics on any of this,
sure.
Right? But listen, if you look at this from a business perspective, entrepreneur perspective, you have to have a survival mindset to continue operating. You have to continuously adjust. You have to be agile. You have to be flexible. You have to continuously change the path towards the same goal that you've had. You're making turns. You're often very, very creative on the spot, solving problems that you've never seen coming or have never heard of. You don't even know how to touch it.
Look at the last couple of years, right? There's a prime example, with COVID. Early on in these podcasts, we would always talk about the people that just turned the lights off and went home. And then you have the other people who said, all right, what are we going to do for our members? How can we keep our members interested in jiu-jitsu? And for multiple reasons, right? You've got a business, you need money coming in, but also you want to keep giving people jiu-jitsu. You want to keep them interested in jiu-jitsu. And you had to decide how you were going to do that. And a lot of people didn't have that survival mode. And it was easier just to blame other people and shut it all down. So if you look at all the years of he's been doing it, fads, right? The UFC pops, and I'm sure there was a huge interest then. But then there was also a big backlash in UFC, when it changed the rules that first time, where people lost interest and people don't want to be sweaty and with other people and all the grossness that goes along with jiu-jitsu. So how do you keep people coming through the door, And I'm not saying joining and staying. I'm talking about just getting traffic through the door.
Yeah.
How do you do that? And so again, talking about changing, you're starting in the middle 90s. He's putting flyers on lampposts, right? Yeah. He's taking ads out in magazines.
Google doesn't exist for those of you guys who are out there thinking about this.
What do websites look like back then? Just a couple.
They don't.
Right. But shortly after that, then it's just pictures and some text. There's no videos. And then, so if you don't keep moving forward with all that stuff, your chances of survival are pretty slim, unless you're a huge name where you can, and you don't expect to expand, or you just want to keep it simple.
I'll stop you right now. The huge name means nothing in my opinion. And you guys listening to this, you feel free to disagree with it. A good example of it is Sears. Look how big Sears was. Don't say wow, but
no, I said yeah.
I mean, look how huge. I mean, is the biggest company there was in '90s, right? '90s, 2000s, right? And now it bankrupt so many times. Kmart went completely under, right? I mean, this is and I know it has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but we're talking about survival, right? Look at Blockbuster. Look at Blockbuster.
They had their opportunity to go the way of Netflix, and they chose not to.
I don't know the numbers, but I did read several times on this that Blockbuster actually had an opportunity to buy Netflix. They had that chance, that those conversations were taking place. They ignored it. They ignored the evolution, and then shortly after, literally, Netflix, just chewed them up. They would completely went out of business, right? So the continuous evolution of what is around us, because how fast the world is evolving today, especially from a technology perspective, it is important. And same thing applies to jiu-jitsu. Same thing applies to running jiu-jitsu academies. I'll tell you from my personal life, running jiu-jitsu academy is grind. It is a grind. You got to love it. You got to love it. You got to love it.
If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah,
Isn't that what they say?
I don't work at all.
No, you come in, and for all those people who don't, you don't just come in and turn the lights on and sit down on the mats and wait for your students to arrive, and then when they go home, turn off the lights and go back home.
Yeah, and when they're here, you just point a finger. You tell them what to do. That's what we do. Yeah, all instructors, they work just a couple hours a day. That's it.
They don't plan curriculums. They don't pay the bills. They don't have insurance. They don't have employees. They don't. What else? I mean, they don't. Look at jiu-jitsu just in 1996 jiu-jitsu to 2022 jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. How much jiu-jitsu has changed, and if you don't change with it, you're not going to survive, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, old man jiu-jitsu is still around. That's because old men are still here doing it. But if you kept those techniques, if all you were doing was what's considered now old man jiu-jitsu throughout the past 22 years, chances are you're not going to survive, right? So you got to keep evolving. You got to keep learning as an owner in order to survive. And then you pass it along, because at some point you're probably going to want to phase out or take a step back. So you've got to groom the next group to come up, and through instructors programs and things like that. All that helps you in your longevity and in your survival. And I think when people don't have that foresight, that's when it starts to collapse, and the doors are no longer. I have all the answers, but that's because I've been a keen observer of somebody who's doing it right, I think. And place has been around for 7 years now, 8 years, right? 7. Yeah. So again, count how many have come and gone in that time, and it's because you've constantly grew. It's like, I need to open a place. You studied, you figured out what you needed to do. After that, it was like, okay, how do we grow? Hey, let's try and have a successful kids program. Then it's like, what other programs can we bring in here? All this stuff. Stop looking at me and laughing. But all these things are what contribute to a successful business, rather than resting on, the same 12, 18 dudes coming in and beating the hell out of each other, old school style. And you're not going to stick around that way. That's all.
The reason why I was laughing, because you mentioned some of those projects that I started, and I do recall the faces when I told you about these projects, like our little champ program, like the podcast.
I'm still gonna make those faces. There's certain things. Not everything is a gem, gold. No, but I'm joking. But yeah, some of these projects are like, really? But then when you see them come to fruition and you understand the goal, or and you start realizing why it's a good idea, it contributes to the light staying on, paying the employees. All that stuff contributes to the business succeeding and moving forward and growing, rather than, like I always say, turning the lights on and waiting for the handful of students to show up, and then turning them off and going home. And when you leave here, your day is still consumed by jiu-jitsu. It just is. You don't turn it off very often, and that's what's going to continue this place growing. What are other people doing? What can I learn from that person? What can I take and make my own, or how can I make it better? All that stuff contributes, and it doesn't have to be just a jiu-jitsu academy. All that stuff contributes to any business and their longevity.
Since you are so smart and there's so much wisdom behind everything you say today, no sarcasm. There's no reason to.
There's no sarcasm.
No. So what's your train of thought when you find yourself in the position where survival mode has to kick in? What's your train of thought when you find
Well, it
yourself in a
depends. Are
spot.
you talking about like
Just be hypothetical in a general sense. What do you do when you find yourself in a circumstances where you have to fix a problem and you have no idea how to fix it and it's out of your control?
well, fortunately now at this day and age, you've got a lot of resources that you probably didn't have even 10 years ago, right? So you can start researching things, asking questions, put your ego aside, receive information from other people. And then you can start whittling away at whatever issue is causing you the problem. And it's funny. Okay. Well, we talk a lot in jiu-jitsu about surviving versus defending, right? So what's surviving? You're flat on your back. You're still breathing. You haven't been tapped out yet. Well, what's defending, right? You have a plan and you're working towards that plan and you're making those necessary steps. So if you want to survive, I think then you have to make all these necessary steps to fix your current situation. And if it's because you're flat on your back and somebody's in top side, well, okay, I know what to do to get out. Start making it happen, and you gotta make it happen for yourself. There's nothing wrong with asking for help or anything like that, but you gotta make the movements. You've gotta take the necessary steps for things to become more beneficial.
Nobody's going to do it for you.
No, absolutely not. Never. Nobody's ever going to do it for you. So
yeah, I have a lot of people who come to me and ask, not that I know a lot, but it's just so it happens that they do ask, what to do to start business, what to do to to take the current situation to the next level. And I think often it boils down to that willingness to take action, period. I think often we find ourselves, we have a thought, we have a dream, we had idea, we might even do research. So that's willingness to explore, willingness to educate ourselves, but then there's nothing. There's nothing because
action's scary.
And then, a list of excuses follow.
Sure, or life, right?
But life is excuse too. Like,
sure.
I don't mean.
No, that's what I mean. Life
mean
is
harsh
an
about
excuse.
this.
It is. It's all I got. Well, my day-to-day job was taking too much time,
and that's fine. There's zero judgment on any of this.
Right.
I like. Listen,
well, it's like, if you want it or you don't.
Yeah, just don't tell yourself that you don't have time. We all have time. Just what's more important? What's more important? Are you playing video games or are you doing the business? What's more important? Are you sleeping or you doing research and developing a business plan? What's more important? You sitting and watching a Netflix or you actually doing research how to fill out a paperwork for LLC? Like, what's more important to you? We all have the same amount of time in a day. We all do. It's 24 hours. There's no secrets behind this, right? You can sleep 9 hours or you can designate 2 hours. I'm just saying. You can sleep 9 hours, or you can designate 2-3 hours every day not to sleep and do research and take some actions towards whatever you want to do. Whether it's opening your business, starting a hobby, starting a new activity, bettering yourself. You want to lose weight. I mean, it all starts with simple motions. Simple motions. You don't have to sign up for the gym to lose weight. You don't.
No, you can stop eating that second dinner.
Right. Or you can stop eating Cheetos, or you can do, 100 push-ups. You don't have to do a lot to start. You don't. We often try to solve world's problems on a day one.
Well, I think,
that's when we fail.
I think we talk about this a lot, goals and realistic goals, and people, let's say opening a business, people see everything that it encompasses to open a business. Well, what did you just say a second ago? Filling out the paperwork for your LLC, right? So make that your goal.
Yeah.
And okay, you just chipped away at that monumental task, right, of opening the business. You've just climbed a little bit of that hill or whatever. So yeah, I think you're right. Taking action, I think, is actually taking those necessary steps, physical steps, is probably, the most important, yet for some reason the hardest thing to do.
1% improvement. 1% improvement
There you go.
I got to find that book. I don't know which book that was. I completely forgot. But there was a book statistically showing, essentially, if you make 9% improvement over a period of year, it will take you by far farther with more success than if you make 10% improvements, in a day, and then have hills and valleys, hills and valleys, hills and valleys.
Yeah,
progressively, 1% improvement. One. Don't try to solve the world problems.
All right, cool. Let's leave it at that. I think that's a great spot.
Later.
All right, peace.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.